Greatest Cards of All Time podcast number 47. It's a 1933 Goudey Big League Chewing Gum. Card number 197 in that set. Of Hall of Famer Rick Ferrell. It's Richard Ferrell, and the first thing I would like you to do is take a gander at that hat. Right. Take a look at that floppy hat on top of his head.
Yeah, the card in general, the hat, the three different bats, just the look of the card. I'm a fan of it. Now, he is a catcher. I would say it'd be cool to see him in his catcher's gear.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That
would add something to that card.
It'd be a little more unique, but I still like the card. Now, as you said, this is a 33 Goudey. It is a 240 card set. Technically, it's 239 cards, missing number 106.
Yeah, There's conspiracy.
A whole story to that. Out of the 240 cards, 140 cards are of players that are in the Hall of Fame. So that is an interesting note. And Rick Ferrell, this is one of the 140 cards that are a player that's in the Hall of Fame. As far as growing up, he grew up with 3 or 4 brothers. All of his brothers were pitchers. So, obviously somebody needs to be a catcher. Turns out he was the catcher. So I do believe that's kind of how he fell into that position. He had several brothers that played professional baseball. Wes Ferrell was one of them that made it to Major League Baseball. And actually they played together and against each other in Major League Baseball. But it is interesting. He was the catcher of the group, and I suspect that's just kind of how he fell into that. He just was the everyday catcher when it was various different brothers coming up there and pitching. He ended up going to Guilford College, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Where's Guilford College?
Is it North Carolina, South Carolina? I think it's in one of the Carolinas. Maybe we can have a little...
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I'm not sure. So,
Guilford! Have you ever heard of Guilford College? I really haven't.
Before doing the research, no.
What league is that?
I'm not sure what league it's in, and he did not get a scholarship. And the reason why I know that is because he actually had to box in county matches in order to pay for his school. So he lettered in multiple...
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
He had to fight to go to school?
He basically won 18 out of 19 fights, got paid to box, and that's how he paid for his school. He went to Guilford College from 1923 to 1926. He actually lettered in baseball, go figure, and he also lettered in basketball.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Like, boxed, baseball, basketball.
What do you call that? True athlete.
All-around athlete. That is something that we are really... We discover this each time we look into these old cards, these athletes that when baseball was kind of starting, they're just all-around athletes, and they can do pretty much any
There was
sport.
no electric.
Right.
There was quite possibly no electric.
Right.
No video games, no nothing like that. So that's how these guys got real good at sports, just doing it on a consistent basis. What do you know?
Hey, when you're done with the farm chores, what else are you going to do? You're going to go outside and play baseball, play stickball, do something like that. As far as his career in Major League Baseball, he did sign in 1926 with the Tigers for $1,500.
Deal!
That's not a lot of money. What I thought was interesting is he actually spent 3 years in the minors, and he was doing very well. And it got to the point where he basically said it was a conspiracy. And there were times where they would basically hide players in the minors and keep them in there when it really wasn't deserving. So he actually traveled to Chicago at the end of the 1928 season to literally go talk to the commissioner himself, Judge Landis, to plead his case that basically saying the Tigers are burying me in minor leagues. I'm an all-star, and they're not moving me up. And apparently Judge Landis agreed, and then he signed a 3-year deal with the St. Louis Browns with a $25,000 bonus, which was one of the largest. Yeah, one of the largest at the time.
That sounds like a very comfortable living from that point forward, or at least for a short time, however you want to spend your money. But seems like a large chunk of change for that time period for playing baseball.
This was 1928. He signed that, so that was a substantial sum of money at the time for sure.
Take a look at this card right away. Holding 3 bats like a Great Bambino or a Johnny Mize, if you will. Check out that podcast if you haven't seen it on this channel. The Johnny Mize. What a terrific player. Holding 3 bats like he's something big here is Rick.
I think that's just what they, that's how they warmed up. They didn't have the donuts probably at the time. I guess that's what they did. They grabbed 3 different bats, and that was just kind of one of the ways they would warm up.
Another thing I really like about this 1933 Goudey, it's crazy to even say, the brown background, and then you got a baggy white uniform on the guy too. What is going on there? It looks like a 1920s painter.
We've noticed this about the jerseys. They seem to, a lot of them are just kind of white, and maybe they have a little color around the trim or where the buttons are and what have you. But other than that, they seem fairly plain. We don't even see a team logo on the hat on this card or anywhere on the jersey, which is disappointing. I wish they would have that, but overall the card just looks cool. The condition is okay. Again, we're talking about a card that's super old. It's got a $40 price tag on that. I didn't even negotiate. I bought this at a local card show recently. I know that's a good price. There's plenty of times I'll negotiate when I'm buying a card, but if a card's reasonable, if it has a fair price, I'm not even going to negotiate. I'm just going to pay what's on there, and that's what I did with this card. Super happy with it. As far as some numbers, there's going to be some controversy here. His career WAR is very low. It's 30.8. So for somebody that's in the Hall of Fame, that is ridiculously low. I mean, I think there's only.
How does it make you feel? You hate it. You're disgusted by it, actually.
He doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, I don't believe.
Not as much as his brother Wes, and we did that comparison on this channel
right.
Too. If you want to check that out,
double the career WAR and more home runs. But either way, he's in the Hall of Fame. One of the better numbers for him, and as far as catchers go, his on-base percentage was .378. So I believe that's 4th best out of any catcher that's in the Hall of Fame. So he did get on base a lot. His batting average was .281, so with an on-base percentage of .378, that is a pretty big jump above the batting average. Career home runs, only 28. At bats, 6,028, and hits 1,692. So, a good career, but to think that he is in the Hall of Fame, I'm a little shocked. I will say they didn't have the All-Star game every year back then. He actually did catch in the first All-Star game ever, which was July 6th, 1933. He did catch the entire game. I think Babe Ruth was in that All-Star game. I believe that was played at Kaminsky Park. Going off memory there, so I could be wrong on that. If maybe you can have a pop-up addressing when the first All-Star game was and maybe some of the big names that played, but he did actually catch the entire game, so maybe I should give him a little more credit because we've talked about it before with who's the best player on defense or who's the most significant player on defense and how much do they affect the team. I was maybe before at one point I was saying a shortstop, but really it probably is the catcher. And there's definitely some value there with somebody that really knows how to manage a starting rotation and all of the pitchers on that team. That is something that's worth a lot. So maybe he got a lot of credit for that too.
Let's take a look at the back of this Richard Ferrell card for the Boston Red Sox. Like mentioned before, number 197 in this set. And the back reads, one of the smartest catchers in the American League with a good arm. Born in Durham, North Carolina in 1906. He's 5'11", throws right-handed. Rick has a brother, Wes Ferrell, that we've talked about on this channel plenty of times before. Star Cleveland pitcher. He's a graduate of Guilford College in North Carolina. Joined the Browns in 1929, as mentioned. Shifted to Boston this year, which is 33. Last year, batted .315 in 126 games. Two other brothers, George, an outfielder, and Marvin, a pitcher, are now playing with minor league clubs. So, a lot of baseball history in that Ferrell family, obviously. Impressive baseball family.
And you did answer the question there. Guilford College is actually in North Carolina.
Yes.
Played basketball and baseball there, and he's not a big guy. Some other, the other note, or the other comment I wanted to make, is it called the Mendoza line? Is that the
200 average is the Mendoza line.
I want to come up with that form or that term for the Hall of Fame. Like, is it the Pinson line, or is it the Baines line? The Baines line.
It's all of those lines, yes, because people can understand what you're talking about when you mention those names. So it's all of them so far.
So going back to Rick Ferrell's WAR at 30.8, if I'm going to say it's going to be the Pinson line, actually that's too high. He should probably be in. Pinson is 54.2. And Minnie Minoso just got voted in, and he's at 53.8. So he's actually below Pinson. So the Pinson line, that's too high, I guess, to set it. So maybe Harold Baines. Baines is at 38.8, which is...
Yeah, and he had like a 250 average, maybe. A very average, I may say.
So I think it's probably somewhere in maybe the 50... 50 range. I'm not sure. We should maybe throw up some stats there. Who are some common, well-known players with a career WAR around 50? Because I think that's where the line probably should be. Harold Baines, I don't know when he got voted in or why exactly he got voted in, but 38.8 is very, very low. Rick Ferrell, I love the guy. Great career. 30.8. I don't think it deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. That's a
He is.
That's for the best of the best of the best. And
he is, though.
He is. But going forward, players like that are no longer. They're not going to be in.
I do like that card, though. I think that was a terrific pickup. I do like that card.
Love the card. There's a little crease on the front, unfortunately. Again, it's like we've made this joke before. Like, oh, you want one without the crease?
Yeah.
Go to the next booth and get it from there.
See what kind of 33. Goudey Ferrell.
This might have been the only card at the show, and I don't want to ramble on too long here, but real quick, I thought the local card show, which was mid to early September of 2022, it was pretty slow. We've been there a few times, multiple times. We've gone to this exact same location, and first time we went, it wasn't busy. There weren't many tables. We went maybe a year after, crazy amount of tables, crazy busy. And this time when we went, it was slow. It didn't seem like there were a lot of people buying. People were trying to sell. You heard multiple vendors said they're not buying anything.
Right. I was more motivated to buy, and I did make some pickups that we're going to do some upcoming videos on because they're epic. They're epic, awesome cards.
Overall, I'm happy I picked up another 33 Goudey. I didn't really have a set, when am I going to get, when am I going to pick up, but it's usually vintage if it's going to be something maybe like a 51 Bowman, 52 Topps, 33 Goudey, something like that. So happy I walked away with another Hall of Famer.